This is a video on a FNAF fangame series. Another one. As much as I enjoy the series I'm going to discuss, I originally wanted to do something much more original compared to my last video. But after I posted it and got record traction for a video, YouTube crashed, completely killing a video I worked 14 hours straight on. That's really helpful. So if you want, once you're done watching this video, go watch the one I worked super hard on as well. The Five Nights at Tubbyland series was a personal favorite of mine when I was younger, and I am interested to see if the series still holds up to this day. The series was mostly led by Clicky Code, and spans a wide 4 titles, and something in the works I'll discuss at the end. Strap in, these games might surprise you.
Is he high?
Oh, I know that title was hard to believe, but trust me. Five Nights at Tubbyland was the series' first entry. But this is not the original version of the game. This is a full-on remake Clicky made years later, and I'm interested to see how it plays, considering I had never heard of it before researching this video. The phone guy introduces us to the door.
Does he know about the D-O-R-E? Huh? The door.
The only door. This office only has one working door, the other is completely wide open, which is not something that I enjoy. I did say I played this game as a kid, and I expected a few minor differences aside from all the graphical upgrades. What I did not expect at all was for Poe, the original game's music box character, to move. Like I said, Poe is the game's music box character. She used to sit in the parts and service room, acting like a music box, but in this version she moves around the cameras while keeping the music box mechanic. This meant I actually had to keep track of her on the cameras, which made the game way more interesting than it would have been otherwise. Lala, the yellow one, is this game's Bonnie in a way. She'll appear at Cam Alpha, right outside your office, every so often. When she does, you quickly have to close the left door to ward her away, and I do mean quickly. Since there's no door light, you more or less need to keep track of her at all times, or at least keep an eye on Cam Alpha to make sure she isn't there. I passed this night without too much issue. This night, the phone guy kept me up to date on Poe and Lala, which I already knew about, and a character you might have noticed that I didn't talk about, Tinky Winky, the purple one. The phone guy tells me to keep an eye on him to make sure he doesn't move. The more you look at him, the less he moves. Tinky Winky cannot be stopped. He slowly progresses towards the office throughout the night, and if he reaches the office through the right door, you're toast. Throughout the game, Tinky Winky proved to be a consistent issue, which is because I totally misunderstood what the phone call meant. To keep him away, you're meant to stare him down, as in look at him for longer stretches of time. What I did was frequently check on him over and over, which didn't really help that much. So even in this night, he managed to get all the way to the kitchen before I reached 6 AM. Something that's really helpful in this game is when multiple characters are in the same camera. No matter what characters it is, it's always a huge help because it makes things less hectic for just a little while. Night 3 is when things get super rough, because the biggest problem of the main game is introduced this night, Dipsy.
I like paper clips.
The phone guy informs us that they finally got Dipsy up and running, but there's a problem. You need to keep Dipsy away from you. Somehow, he has a built-in building control module, and basically, if he can get to your office, it's bad news. Luckily, we have the tried and true Stop Dipsy button, which has been added to the camera features. Pressing this button releases a sort of fumes into the room you're looking at, and if Dipsy is in said room, it will reset him back to the party room or the stage. Dipsy will take one of 2 paths to the office. If he travels the long way, he will take a path from the party area to the party hall, then to the left door. You can't keep him out of the office with the door. Once he reaches this camera, it's time to hit him with the kryptonite gas. However, I actually didn't know he appeared on this camera. I thought that if you didn't gas him at the party hall, he'd go straight to your office. To be fair, it was pretty difficult to see him. Here he is. This caused a massive drain on my power throughout the game until I realized that he appeared here later on. If he takes the right side, as far as I can tell, you need to gas him right here in the dining room. Right now, Dipsy isn't the biggest issue. He's certainly a problem to keep track of, but since he laughs when he moves, keeping tabs on him isn't the hardest thing in the world.
I like paper clips.
This night caused my first death via running out of power, causing me to get killed by Tinky Winky, which spooked me a lot more than FNAF's original power screen. I sat there waiting for someone to show up at the door with lights, or at least some sort of sound to play, but Tinky Winky just jumped at me from under my desk and I completely lost my shit. Next, I lost to Dipsy. Looking back at the footage, you can even see him hiding here, something that I totally missed. Dipsy drains her power completely upon entering and makes you unable to close the left door. But despite Lala almost entering, I run out of power and that's game. The game really started to stick it to me here, and after somehow managing to lose track of Poe, I took a break. I came back, got killed by Dipsy again, and locked in. This time I came up with a strategy. I call it Fuck Dipsy.
I like paper.
Anytime Dipsy moved, I stopped his ass. Never let it up. Stop Dipsy, always.
Stop Dipsy. I like stop Dipsy. I like stop Dipsy. I like stop Dipsy. Stop Dipsy. Stop Dipsy. I like paper.
Stopping Dipsy as much as I did seemed like a good strategy, and for a while it worked, but it exposed me to another issue. That would be the sound of Tinky entering my office. I knew the second I flipped the camera down, I was a dead man. And I guess so did Lala, considering the second this happened, she booked it towards my door. Somehow, I managed to survive, and I was on to night 4. Night 4 begins with the phone guy digging into the Teletubby Corporation, finding fishy design choices in the robots and wondering why they have certain security mode features. He states the company is still looking for the last robot, Nunu, who was a little vacuum cleaner guy the Teletubbies had around to, I don't know, suck on stuff. Night 4 doesn't add anything new, it just makes things harder, which is typical. Something that made me tense throughout the game was the lights. The more power you use, the more the lights in the building flicker. Therefore, the later into a night you get, the more difficult it can be to make out some details. And of course, it also just stresses the hell out of you. Something that I absolutely love about a horror game. My favorite feature of the first FNAF is the power system. That constant tension the night has due to its existence. If it runs out, you're done. The lower it gets, the more stressed and tense you are. And the game amps that up to a huge degree with both the flickering lights and the presence of Tinky, who again manages to get into my office on pretty much every attempt at 5 a.m. I had a weird strategy for these nights. Once the clock reached around 5 a.m., I would completely stop dealing with Dipsy. This is because Tinky would regularly get into my office, causing Lala to head to my door. I wanted my power to go out. Something about this game that differs from the first FNAF game, the power outage is consistent. There is no short death or long death like in the original Five Nights at Freddy's. When the power goes out, you get a consistent 22 seconds or so before you die, which is very gracious. By the end of the night, I would try and run out of power to stave off my death for that 22 seconds. And wouldn't you know, it ended up working. Night 5 begins with the phone guy discussing with us he found the Nunu animatronic in an old shed. For some reason, he's been fitted with razor-sharp teeth, which recontextualizes my joke from earlier. The phone guy takes his eyes off Nunu for a little too long, and
This is less work for you. Hold on, I need to check something.
Night 5 is just like the last night, but harder. I repeated the same song and dance before getting an absolutely perfect run, keeping both Dipsy and Tinky at bay, and not even running out of power. Feels good to master a game. Except, of course, I have the custom night to do. For shits and giggles, I decided to try the 420 mode for this game. Fun fact, once you unlock this screen, you can actually hover over each character to see exactly what they do behavior-wise. This is how I learned to actually deal with Tinky and Dipsy. I originally had a file full of attempts with me talking over them, but unfortunately, I didn't turn my mic up enough, and they're too damn quiet. What got me the victory in the end was finally realizing how Tinky and Dipsy actually work. I began to hold the camera on Tinky as long as I could to keep him in place, and I began to gas Dipsy not in the hallway, but when he was right outside my office, as I should have been. And with my final victory, we play a minigame. I play as a black Teletubby being guided towards a room before I trudge away from the wreckage, damaged, but alive. This is the secret character that I remember, PTLD. He's the game's Golden Freddy in a way, but the cutscene we saw basically explains why the bots are so fucked up. They got blown up. I won't be keeping track of the lore in detail, and for some of these games I'll have to skip over it entirely, but I'll give you the gist of things the best I can. Five Nights at Tubbyland was a phenomenal start. To be fair, it wasn't technically the first game made, as this is a remake of that game with better graphics and mechanics. I really like how you need to keep tabs on every single character in a way that doesn't feel forced or unbun. I never really felt safe at most points in the game, very hectic, but in a fun way. I give Five Nights at Tubbyland an 8 out of 10. Hey, stopping by, quick ask, if you're enjoying things, please make sure to like and subscribe. Back to your regularly scheduled FNAF video.
Are you still there?
Fortunately for me, and maybe fortunately for all of you, Five Nights at Tubbyland 2 is downright unplayable. I tried both the original release and a fan-made recoding, but neither of these games seemed to run for too long without crashing, which is honestly a slight relief, because I know this game well from when I was younger, and I know that this one really didn't have a lot going for it. It's a FNAF 2 clone, and considering I already think of FNAF 2 as the most boring FNAF game due to its repetitive nature, this means I never quite cared for this game. In addition, the models for this game looked so strange for some reason. Not scary, just balloony. They look like they're made of inflatable balloons, and they don't really have that realistic weight to them that the originals had. In this game, your main method of defense is the smoke machine, which functions like the mask in FNAF 2. When I used this thing, the game crashed. Po, Lala, and Dipsy were fended away by the smoke, while Tinky Winky sat in the cuck chair in the back of the building. You'd have to keep tabs on his camera to keep him from waking up, as if he made his way to your office, he would shut down the building's power for a long time. If I remember correctly, he was never a massive issue because the cameras in this game, unlike the glorious remaster of the firsts, do not fucking matter. Outside of Tinky Winky and a character I'll touch on shortly, the cameras are completely useless, just like the original FNAF 2. The other characters the cameras are required to deal with is Nunu the vacuum cleaner. Every so often he'll activate, playing his music throughout the building. If you hear this, you're supposed to quickly click on his camera and play a scrambled audio that puts him back to sleep. This character is genuinely the only actual threat in this game, because while the audio plays, you can't use the smoke machine. The last character the game has in its ensemble was Old Po, who would appear at either the right or front door. The issue was, Old Po was blind. She would stand there for a second, and if you didn't move, she would wander away. In practice, this pretty much made her another variant of the smoke button characters, with even less commitment. This isn't a game I was looking forward to, and I'm completely unbothered by the fact I had to leave it out. Sorry, we're not all winners. I do have to quickly touch on a slight lore bit for this game. In this game, I believe it's hinted at that there is a corpse inside Nunu, something that's outright confirmed in the next game and becomes a pivotal plot point. Speaking of the next game... Five Nights at Tubbyland 3 originally also joined the Sad Loser Unplayable Club along with the second game, but unlike the second game, this made me really sad. I like this game. After a bit of digging, I came across a recoded version made by Metaneer Gaming that wasn't quite the same as the original, but it was playable. The original release by Clicky Code would dick up my PC aspect ratio, and of course it would crash. What makes this third game so interesting is what I wish the real FNAF 2 would do. Have a massive amount of characters and make each of them at least somewhat interesting. There's a huge variety of characters that will come and try and kill you through 3 doors and a vent, which can make things very troublesome. Night 1 starts with the phone guy, voiced by one of my favorite YouTubers when I was a kid, the Game Salmon, giving us the rundown. We need to make sure none of the characters get in the room, especially Lala, who works as this game's Foxy. And the building's power is bad. No power! The power will drop at an astonishing rate, which means you have to recharge it. Holding the spacebar will turn out the lights and recharge the power. Despite what the phone guy advertises, the doors will not stay closed if you turn off the power. In fact, you can't turn off the power at all if one of the 3 doors are closed. This was done to prevent a strategy in the original release that made the game extremely trivial, where you would close the front and right door, constantly regenerate power, and only have to check the vent and left door. Speaking of these doors, you can control them with a separate panel to your left, which is also the only way to see time in this game. This meant that especially in later nights, I couldn't really keep track of what time it was in-game, which stressed me out a lot. My least favorite change to the original game was what they did to the cameras, and dear God, they make me nauseous. In the original, they followed the mechanics of pretty much every other FNAF fangame camera, slowly panning from left to right. But in this recode specifically, the programmer made the baffling decision to make the cameras controlled by your mouse. It makes things super motion sicknessy, and it makes it really difficult to find these characters at first. I died to Lala on my first try simply because I couldn't actually find her on the cameras. Once I was able to locate her, I pieced together a genuine strategy for Night 1. Just check her camera and the hall camera, and then check all the lights. The characters we have to deal with this night are Lala, Po, and Old Po. Lala resides down the hall, and as long as you watch her, she won't move much. Eventually, she'll make a break for the office, and when she does, you have to close the front door. She'll drain around 20 power when she bangs on the door, which isn't the worst thing in the world. It won't happen that often if you keep her in check, but she can become a huge threat in later nights. Po became a massive problem I had to strategize around. She'll appear in the front door camera and from there jump straight into my office, disabling my camera and door controls for long enough for Lala to kill me. Old Po was also a bit of a threat. Later in the night, she'd wander towards my office and try to sneak in via the left or right door, or the air vent above me. If this occurred, I had to slam the door she was at, or turn on the heat above me to flush her back down. In time, I managed to complete this first night, but not without a few failed attempts. Night 2 plays a lot like the first night, with the addition of some new characters. Dipsy becomes active on this night, and he is strange. I can't tell if he's super dangerous or a lame duck. It all kind of depends on the situation. Dipsy's main gimmick is that unlike other characters, he does not have an audio cue for when he enters a vent or a doorway. He is completely silent. However, he has the longest kill window of any character. This means if you're staying on top of things, he isn't an issue, but if you aren't, he can get you without even you knowing what happened. The voice trumpet is also introduced on this night, and he's another generator sapper character. He'll appear at your left door, and you simply have to slam the door on him until he goes away. The only thing that makes him problematic is that he makes noise when he moves. And I mean every time he moves. Meaning he might as well not have a cue for when he appears at your door, as it's the same audio cue for every time he moves. This does make it easy for you to tell if he's left your door though, so that's a plus. You may notice some of the animations looking a little stiff. I know I did. It's a real shame as there are many much smoother and much more high quality ones Clicky Code made for this game online. But they had to be cut as they would frequently crash the game in testing. Water. Drink. Night 3 introduces a character that causes a huge amount of headache if you don't deal with them properly. The original is apparently the very first prototype Teletubby robot made, and he has been vandalized heavily. He acts as another Foxy character, but he can't actually kill you. Every now and then, he'll rush to your office through the left door and just stand in front of you for a few seconds, making you unable to recharge your battery before he leaves. This on its own is really not bad at all, but the problem is how much chaos this creates. First off, as far as I can tell, there's no reason to watch him on the cameras. You can't slow him down as much as I wish you could, and your time is better spent looking in the hallway for Po or in the closet to slow Lala down. The first issue is something unique to the recode. I don't know why this happened, but these characters seem to jump you the very second the original blocks your vision. I have several clips of getting absolutely swarmed by characters while the original's big fat render blocks me from seeing what's in the vent to the front door. This issue got so bad that in later nights I began closing both of these doors anytime he appeared to stay safe. The other big issue comes from his audio cue. It's the exact same running sound as Lala's. When you're keeping track of everything well, this isn't an issue, but if you're not, it can lead to wasting time and making mistakes, which is gonna get you killed. Lastly, shutting the door on the original can be a run killer in certain situations. The original slamming the door costs a whopping 50 power, which can frequently be enough to put you at 0. You can survive being at 0 power, but if someone comes to the door before you can fully recharge, you're pretty much done. You'd think it would be easy not to shut the door on him, but unfortunately he can dash for the office while a character is waiting at the door, meaning you have no choice other than to tank the 50 power loss. The original is what makes this game the hectic, vile nightmare it becomes, and from here on out, things only get worse. The final characters are added tonight. Firstly, Nunu. This vacuum is another generator sapper, but one that's pretty much a death sentence if it gets you. Luckily, it's pretty easy to defend against him, even though he has the second fastest kill window. He'll make a very loud and obvious vacuum sound whenever he appears at the left or right door. Simply lock him out and that's that. You don't even need to check the door lights for him since the sound is directional, which is lovely. I kinda lied about this next character. Tinky Winky has been active since night 1, he just hasn't really needed to appear since now. You may have noticed Tinky Winky has not appeared on any cameras. That's because he's in your office. He will mostly do nothing unless you overuse the vent heater. He'll slowly crawl out of the hole in the floor, giving you a warning that says, "Without your thermostat." He's really not a threat at all. His design is super cool, and it makes me a little sad he got stuck with the don't cheese the game character role. I always hate when they add characters specifically to prevent cheesing a mechanic in such uncreative ways. Like, that's a whole guy, a whole design right there that you just won't see unless you're playing like a dumbass. To be fair, he only begins to show his face this night since I consistently have to turn the heater on whenever the original shows his face. You know, just in case. This night took me a few hours. It's complete and utter hell from here forward. I reach 0 power pretty consistently, and the chaos is often unbearable. The one thing that's helpful though is that if everyone does attack at once, which they frequently do, it gives me some guaranteed time to recharge power before everyone rushes back to get me again. I can't beat Night 5.
You failed!
I've spent way too much time to justify any more attempts. There comes a point in recording impossible footage when I have to realize trying to beat this game is costing me way more time than it's worth. Night 5 is a constant hectic fuckfest, which if I wasn't doing a video on it, I could probably complete it. But I can't waste any more time trying to do this when I have more games to cover. I'm pretty sure there's a 6th night, and when that's done, you get an animation of you getting killed by Nunu or something. After that, it's revealed that the corpse inside the vacuum was your older brother, and somehow, people who've been ground up by the vacuum can control the robots, or something like that. The lore for these first 3 don't really make the most sense in the world, but honestly, I would be lying if I said 12-year-old me didn't think this was cool as hell.
I think it's about time we start sticking together again, little brother.
The recode of Tubbyland 3 was definitely a good experience overall though. I was happy to play it again in slightly higher quality, and the rebalance of mechanics made for a really neat experience. I liked the style of the game, and I really loved how it took what I loved about FNAF 2 type games with a large cast of characters, and made them feel more unique. I had a good time with this. I wish I had some time to beat it, but we have some more games to talk about. 6 out of 10.
Huggy Wuggy Seek, Scary Blue, Zumbo Sauce.
Return to Tubbyland is a game that I believe is canon to the series, or at least in the revival it is, considering Act 2 of the series is going to cover it. This game was developed by a list of people but spearheaded by Soltron. This game takes place shortly after the original game, after you were fired from the original location. I'll rip the band-aid off. The models for this game are not the best. Every artist has to start somewhere, of course, but I really can't avoid the fact that these guys kinda look just a bit like they came out of Garden of Banban. I'm also not going to talk about this game in detail either, because I don't like it. On night 1, you're meant to deal with just one character, Lala, who will attack you via the vent behind you. You just shut the vent, but be careful not to shut it for too long as it will overheat, losing a lot of power. She'll follow a set path from camera to camera, and once she can be seen in the vent, you shut the grate. Night 2 introduces Poe, who, like every Poe from these games, is blind. She'll wander into your office every so often, also on a set path. Once she reaches Cam A, she'll be able to wander into your room. If she does, you have to stand completely still. Definitely don't turn around. Although the phone guy says not to flip up or use the camera during this event, it feels like Poe has a lot, or maybe too much leeway. I've been caught using the camera by her time and time again, but I don't remember being killed by her even once. Night 3 introduces Dipsy, who completely removes the horror part of this game by constantly laughing throughout the night. Like Poe, he will randomly wander into the office, but unlike Poe, you have to complete a short QuickTime event to make him go away. He'll display an order of letters on his screen, which confused the hell out of me the first time I saw it. But the second time I realized I simply needed to click the cameras, which are identified by letters, in the specified order. While this isn't a huge issue now, on later nights there is absolutely zero room for error, which is a shame, because anytime the letters G and C were next to each other, I would screw up the order. The final character added in Night 4 seemed to be the most egregious, but not because they were difficult. Something a lot of FNAF games do that we don't think about is allow us time to listen to the phone call. Characters will either slow down at the start of a night or even stop entirely, allowing players to listen to the entirety of the phone call to get as much information as we can. Tubbyland Return does not grant us this. I was completely unable to hear or read this phone call because all the characters, including Tinky Winky, who I didn't know how to deal with, attacked me full force. Thus, I knew I was supposed to do something to stop Tinky from getting into my vent, which I could hear he'd never leave once he got there, but as to what that was, I had no idea. I ended up figuring it out by complete accident. You just have to find him on the cameras and click him as often as you can, which as long as you don't screw that up, you'll be fine. With Night 5, I'll talk about the main problem behind this game. With all these characters, you'd assume what makes the game stressful would be them overlapping, right? What if Lala's in my vent, but I have to stand still for Poe? What if I can't find Tinky, but Dipsy is in my office and I have to handle him first? Well, worry not. At absolutely no point in this game did any character overlap with another. Not even once. This makes the game not a juggling act, but a super long gauntlet of minigame actions. Screw one up, and you die. I didn't really like this. I beat Night 6, and after unlocking a custom night that I just won't do, I also unlocked an Insomnious night, which I hoped would shake things up a bit. Aside from a random jump scare at the start of the night, it did not. I decided after said jump scare, which seemingly happened at random for no reason at all, that this was my last run. After fucking up a Dipsy encounter, I held true to my promise. Tubbyland Return had an interesting premise, but the lack of fear factor and the fact that none of these characters' behaviors meshed together at all made this a strange combination of annoying, dragging, and infuriating. But at the very least, it isn't the second game. Something I find much more interesting than this game is the fact that this game was originally meant to be Clicky Code's 4th game in her series. But because of a computer error, most of the files for this game vanished mid-development, which is really fucking sad. The game I played was a recreation of some of the concepts that would have been included. The story was that this game was going to be all in the night guard from the first game, Parker Anderson's, head. It was a nightmare about what he had seen and would have followed shortly after the first game. Like I said earlier, this game is on track to be remade as a part of the Tubbyland Archive series, but considering the development of said series is complicated, I'm not sure when we can expect it. I'll touch on it a bit more later. 4 out of 10.
That is the scariest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Moving on to the game I've heavily been looking forward to. Archives Act 1 is the first in the series of remakes for these games. Each of these acts are planned to remake a particular game in the series with better designs, graphics, and new bits of lore. They're almost like loose reimaginings rather than remakes, which is super cool. While Act 1 is a new take on the first Tubbyland game, Act 2 will cover the original unreleased Tubbyland Return, and Acts 3 and 4 will cover the original second and third entries respectively. Your CEO pal introduces you to the job, while you see all these great shots of the robots.
You have one new message.
Is this thing on? Oh, there we go. Hey, sport. This is the guy who interviewed you, for the night watch position you applied for. Well, it's safe to say you got the job. Not like there was much competition anyway, but you're hired. You start on Monday of next week. Tomorrow you're gonna want to stop by the place, see Joey. He'll set you up with your uniform, your keys to the place, yada yada. You get the idea. He'll tell you what you need to do for the place. Alright, that's enough out of me. I've got a lot of things to tend to. Make sure you call me back if you need anything.
Title card.
Before even hearing the phone call, I see a tooltip at the bottom of the screen that really helps. This game has a habit of both implying things via the phone guy and directly telling you little hints like this, and I think it works really well. Night 1 begins with the phone guy briefing me on my job and the camera system, which is equipped with lights with limited batteries, a button to turn room power off, and an intercom system. He notes that rooms can shut off on their own, which can be fixed by simply pressing the lightning bolt to turn the room back on. He finally gets to the animatronic we need to deal with, the red one.
Last week we reactivated one of them. The red one, to be more specific. She's been doing really well too, especially considering she doesn't even have any eyes. Honestly, I wouldn't really be surprised if this is what scared that other guy off. Those things are already really freaky, and the fact that they can move just makes it even worse. Now, you shouldn't really be in danger, though it might be a good idea to keep her away from your office, seeing as it's a big machine that could easily injure you just by moving incorrectly. really recommend is trying to stay out of her way.
So what I gather is that Poe works like a more intelligent Springtrap. You have to use audio to lure her to certain cameras, but you can't lead her to the same place twice in a row. You'll notice in this early gameplay that I like to stay on the camera I blast audio on for some reason. I'm not sure why I did that. I could just switch cameras and it would still blast the audio. In all seriousness, the first night wasn't the worst thing in the world. I still died, as I was trying to figure out where Poe appeared in each camera more than anything. Something that happened on my first attempt that surprised me is my battery ran out. Without my lights, I couldn't find Poe on the cameras at all. It seems like her combination of having no glowing eyes to see and always remaining in the shadows of cameras means that if you run out of power, you're probably gonna die. Second time's the charm. Night 1 complete. We play a minigame looking for Nunu and hooray! Nunu was sleeping. Night 2's tooltip, pay attention to her position. If she disappears entirely, hide. Night 2 introduces Lala, who among these games has been known for being pretty aggressive. In Archives Act 1, she is no different. The phone guy mentions,
We got 2 of the robots up and working again. The one to the left of the main stage, the one without the head, and some vacuum cleaner thing. So I took some notes of the behavior, of the headless one, and I thought I'd run them by you. So let's see. Right, so she's a lot more aggressive than the other one. Like, we noticed she was being almost hostile towards the engineers when they were working on her, which shouldn't even be possible. Thankfully none of them got hurt, but she did almost hit one. Maybe she thinks they're totally toast or something. Anyway, point is that you should definitely avoid her. She probably won't obey the intercom system like the other one does, so hiding is probably your best bet. So if you see her getting too close for comfort, try looking for a spot out of view and just wait for her to pass by. As for the vacuum cleaner, don't really have anything worth mentioning. The CEO himself worked on it. Strictly kept us from being in the same room at the same time, too. Said it was too dangerous or something. I don't know. Anyway, I guess if you find wherever he is, just don't stay around him for too long.
Nunu is also mentioned in this night, and he's right in your closet. The one you hide in. Unfortunately, Nunu takes the role of a don't overuse this mechanic character, which means if you hide in the closet for too long, he gets ya.
Blarg, I am hungry. Among them, tastes like...
Luckily, they went with giving Nunu this role instead of someone more prominent. Can you imagine if they gave this role to like a fan favorite character? Like Tinky? Seriously, you guys better not do Tinky dirty in Act 4. In my first attempt for this night, this guy showed up.
Nope.
Needless to say, I took a break, but when I opened the game back up, that scared the crap out of me both when I was recording and when I wrote this. Anyway, back on track, Lala isn't really super tough to deal with just yet. Something that's super helpful is the fact that her eyes glow, meaning I can see her regardless of whether the lights are on. She'll take a straightforward path to my left or center door, and when she leaves the last camera she's on, you quickly duck into your closet. That animation of Lala leaping into your office is just so cool. And it really made me jump in my seat when I first saw it. Unfortunately, since I still thought I had to keep the camera on while I played audio, I saw something different the second time. Night 2 really threw me for a loop. Maybe because I was in call with my friends and couldn't focus, or maybe because I still didn't quite have a grasp on how Poe worked. Nonetheless, I took a break, came back, and managed to just barely claim victory after running out of power. This is not the kind of mistake that would be tolerated later, and soon you'll see why. Night 2 also ends with a minigame where we play as Poe, again looking for Nunu, who was refilling the custard machine. Such a weird word. I guess Brits find the word appealing, but to me it sounds too much like mustard. And I like mustard, but I know custard is pretty much like ice cream, and then I think of mustard-flavored ice cream, which doesn't sound very appealing to anybody. Anyway, that's why I imagine custard being yellow. Night 3 introduces us to Tinky Winky, who again is without his legs. The phone guy explains that during the day, employees had been testing sound machines out on the characters, and noted that Tinky hated certain sounds so much he would leave rooms with said sound in them. And while the intercom is not quite the right frequency, the buzzing of your flashlight certainly is. If you think employees seeing these robots move and smash things around sounds weird, that's because it is.
Oh, one more thing. I've been getting this weird vibe whenever I come in. Like, I'm not the only one either. The other employees said they hate coming in here just as much as you probably do. There's just something so unworldly, like, about this whole place. Not sure what's wrong here, but there are so many weird and specific rules, man. The animatronics aren't any better either. I'm sure you know about that more than anyone here. I'm gonna try digging around some files tonight, see if I can find some answers.
So the phone guy is digging for answers. Who wants to bet he dies?
Wow. A lot more. Okay, now, how many of you love
Paper clips.
Okay, I'll stop now.
Tinky isn't the biggest threat at the moment. He'll slowly crawl through one of two paths to your office, both ending right outside its front door. To keep him at bay, you'll have to shine your light at him, which will reset him to the last camera he was on. This means the longer you go without dealing with him, the longer it will take to deal with him. Right now, he isn't actually that much of a threat due to how slowly he advances. The night's actual new threat is Lala's trickier new AI. I saw Lala leave the camera she was on right outside my office as usual, but oftentimes she didn't enter my room, which scared the shit out of me and contributed to me getting killed. I realized Lala wouldn't always go from these outside cameras to my room. She'd now also enter the kitchen, a room that joined the two rooms that bordered the office. This was pretty hard to get used to. Now when Lala would leave, I would have to make sure she was about to attack before I hid. You'd think this wouldn't take much time, but a new issue came about this night as well. The cameras were dying. Room power would disappear from cameras frequently, meaning I would have to reboot cameras I needed immediate access to, which only added to the time I spent. Add needing to keep track of Poe on top of all of this, and this was a difficult night. This night's minigame has you controlling Lala, who finds Nunu. I don't know if that fits my definition of trash, bro. Do you know how lucrative the organs market is? Night 4 introduces Dipsy, who is stated to be partially, but not completely, blind. And the phone guy is interrupted by the CEO mid-call.
Okay, look, back to the point. Give me a second. Come in.
Hey, we need to talk.
What's up?
Just curious about something.
He's gonna die. This night was extremely rough. I frequently died to Poe, and after getting confused on when to hide too many times, I even got my first and only Nunu death. Dipsy himself is actually a very simple character.
I like.
On this night, he disappears from the cameras around 3 a.m. He'll then appear right in front of your office. He'll slowly get closer and closer until he starts to lean into your office. This is when you need to hide. After about 5 seconds, he'll do a little laugh, and that's when you know you're safe to come out. You'd think Dipsy would be the easiest character to deal with, but somehow adding him to the bunch makes things so much worse. While flipping your camera down to check on him isn't too bad, having to hide away and not deal with any of the other characters for 5 seconds can hurt. I found myself losing characters and having to reboot cameras once I got back to the monitor, and that hectic kind of chaos creates mistakes. This night took a while to beat, and beat it I did, just after running out of power. Like previous nights, we look for Nunu and find him cleaning up a spill that looks an awful lot like blood. I mean, what can you do? At least he's not letting it dry.
You have one new message. Hello? Oh, thank God this is working, dude. I have so much to say. Okay, look, I'm hiding right now. Remember how that guy told me to come in yesterday? Yeah, well, guess what? It was a goddamn death trap. I found a room to the right of the party hall. There's something down there. A box. I couldn't get a look inside, but it smelled awful. The robots were down there too for some reason. I don't know why or how, but as soon as they realized I was there, they immediately blocked it for me. Those things are bloodthirsty. God, the company records, the explosion, what happened last night, it's all adding up. This place is one massive cover. The CEOs.
Oh, he did.
Night 5 is brutal. Instead of becoming active at 3 a.m., Dipsy leaves instantly, meaning you have to deal with him the entire night. With that in mind, Night 5 was an utterly brutal slog, and I really hoped there wouldn't be a 6th night. Time to see what devious acts Nunu is up to. Yeah, there's a night 6. After having an epiphany, hearing the phone guy die, you, Parker Anderson, who seems to be an actual character instead of a nameless what's-his-face, decides to return to the building next night to look for documents? Uh-oh. Night 6 was a vile beast that took me 3 hours to beat. At this point in the game, I just turned the mic on because I got bored, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the little crash out compilation I have later. Something you'll notice in a lot of these clips is that the room lights are out. After around 3 a.m., the room lights die out, which makes everything super creepy. But it also makes it harder to tell when Dipsy is in his kill stage. I looked for a little rim of light his eye produces when he's extra close to figure out if I should hide or not. I used a specific strategy for Poe this time around. I tried to keep her around this part of the map. If she got too close, I would lead her through the kitchen, back out the other side, and back into this hallway. It was a risky strategy, since on this night more than any other, Poe tended to move right as I played in audio. And since the audio has to take such a huge amount of time to both play and recharge, this meant if this happened, I would die. That's game. Well, good day to you, my friend. Lala was extremely tricky, darting between the kitchen and cameras outside my office frequently, but as long as I kept track of her, she'd be fine. Tinky actually became a huge threat on this night. He moves super fast, and he'd often take advantage of the camera reboot times to get ahead of me as I tried to reset him. You straight up don't have enough time to focus him back to his start position if he gets too far along, so you have to keep him in check. Dipsy was much more active than normal, but something that helps me out with him is that hiding from Dipsy would, in a way, put Lala on pause. Unless you manage to get them both in one hide, which does happen, and is super helpful when it does happen, Lala cannot enter for a short period of time after hiding from Dipsy. It's not long enough to take a Lala vacation, but it's just enough to know for sure you won't get jump scared by her the second you stop hiding. With that out of the way, Oh, fuck me. I'm fucked. Completely fucked. It is just complete. That's game. Bye. Come get me, Dipsy. Come get me, Dipsy.
No.
Oh, you're here. Come on. Just 10 seconds. And I lose anyway! Oh, no! Fuck! You're here. Come on. No power. Let's do it. Okay, yeah, I didn't think that was gonna work out. But, you know, you never know.
I like paper clips.
What's great, it scares me every time. It makes me nervous. Every time. I know how these characters work, but they still get me. And that's what I hate about it. This game is so good at making you lose your freaking marbles. Get out. Shit. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Damn! Oh! I knew it was coming too. It's a very good run. The greatest run. Yeah, I deserve that, I guess. Fuck. Ooh, okay. Right outside my window. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oh, fuck. I figured out where she is. Just if anyone was fucking wanting to know. You're going this way? No. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck it. I'm just gonna risk it. Worth it. 50% of the time, 100% of the time. What am I supposed to do? Oh, you're gone? Damn! Oh, this is vile. I've been at this shit all day. I hate this game. I hate this game so much. I'm toast. Ah, fuck off. You're gone, and you're not here. You must be here, in my office, with me! Really hope Dipsy doesn't get faster. Fuck! Fuck! Oh! That was a good run, too. I know what I did wrong. I think I called the same room twice. With the night's end, you're treated to a new minigame. One where you have to find all the files and escape. I wonder who's in these. As you collect more and more files, more and more Tubby bots will wake up and give chase. Lala seems to be the fastest, Tinky Winky seems to be slower but will give chase for longer. Dipsy seems to work like Lala, but he has trouble seeing you if you're far away or stand still, and Poe will stand in random spots blocking your way. She can still chase you too, but since she's blind... Once you take way too many attempts to do this minigame, you can unlock the secret door the phone guy talked about, unlocking a mysterious Night X, and escape. Completing Night 6 allows you to see the extras menu, which has a lot of cool behind-the-scenes stuff, turnarounds, jump scares. Yeah, I know, let's do Night X. Surprise! It's a PTLD boss fight. You play as the CEO, who's using this secret room to hide from PTLD while an EMP shutdown charges. The tooltip says to lure his creation with yours, which has some really cool lore implications I don't quite understand just yet, and shows us that the CEO created Nunu, who is your only means of defense this night. At first you may have no idea what you're looking at. I know I didn't. But this screen on the left is a map of the building, and it shows you where Nunu is at all times and any motion that appears on the cameras. The motion in question is PTLD, who is in this universe aware and much more capable than the other machines, since of course he knows the CEO is trying to cover something up. You have to use this panel to move Nunu around the building and play music, which will lead PTLD towards Nunu if they are in adjacent rooms. You really don't want PTLD and Nunu in the same room, however, as if this happens, Nunu can only be hit 4 times. Once those 4 lives are up, you're screwed. In addition to that, if Nunu's music power reaches 0, you'll be unable to use it again until it hits 25%. Basically meaning again, screwed. As the EMP charges, it'll start to mess up the building's breaker. When a room loses power, you have to quickly turn it back on with the breaker switches, as if a room power is off, you can't move Nunu if he's in that room, and you won't be able to see PTLD if he's in that room. This sounds easy enough, but PTLD is relentless, and if you overuse Nunu, he'll quickly run out of music box power, causing you to die. What I found worked is using these 2 rooms here to draw his attention anytime he got close to the basement's entrance, and then quickly repositioning Nunu so he'd be ready to lure again if PTLD run back to the entrance. I died a few times because I drove Nunu in a position too late. This was a way to make sure that didn't happen again. After a good 45 minutes of trial and error, that's not all the game has to offer. Upon beating the custom night, you're treated to another wonderful little cutscene. And yes, I didn't try it. I can't waste any more time playing these games. I actually have to make the video.
Alright, hi Parker. I'm calling in regards to the little problem you've been having lately. You know, the nightmares you mentioned? Look, I've tried everything in my power to try and get this sorted, but I keep coming back to the same result. I think you may need to see a psychiatrist. Medication would most likely be the best bet to have to deal with the problems that you've been having. I have contact with multiple wonderful people who would just be more than willing to help, but at the end of the day, that's your call. Just please consider this. I'm really starting to worry about you. Whatever happened at your old job must have been crazy. If you're willing to discuss it, please don't hesitate to bring it up in one of our future sessions. Thank you, and please stay safe. I'll talk to you later, man. Alright, bye.
And that's all for the Tubbyland Archives series. For now. I've been patiently waiting on the arrival of this series' second act for a few years now, and I know once it comes out, it'll wow us. The game is said to take place right after the events of the first and will be a remake of the original Tubbyland Return. Some of the game's designs have already been revealed, and I could not be more excited for these. I'm quite sure that these are nightmarish version of the Teletubby designs we saw in game. I mean, look at Poe's uncanny doll-like appearance. Sheesh. Once this thing comes out, I promise you, I'll be first in line to talk about it. As for Act 1, this thing's perfect from a FNAF standpoint. Its only real flaw is being too hard, and that's not really a flaw in my book. You use the camera systems to their maximum effectiveness, and there's never a point in the game that the gameplay loop feels comfortable or predictable, which for a FNAF game is great. This game never ceased to scare me, even when I was raging and pushing myself to complete Night 6 to finish this video. Every moment of panic still rattled me, and every jump scare I wasn't ready for took me by surprise. Look at these models and designs, they're beautifully unsettling, and the game's sound design is phenomenal as always. Its final night and minigames did an amazing job of investing me in the story, and I can't wait to see where Act 2 takes things. Clicky Code and her team did an incredible job on this masterpiece, and if any one of these games is worth your time, it's this one. 9.5 out of 10. Each of these games' downloads are linked in the description. If you want to play them for yourself, please give them a look. I've been Raider Weish. Stick around.